Have you ever felt like the ground is shifting right under your feet? Well, in the world of software development, that's exactly what's happening. The ground is moving. The tools we use, the skills we need, heck, the very definition of what a programmer is, it's all being rewritten by artificial intelligence. So, let's get into what this massive transformation really means for the future of code.
And this all leads to a huge, kind of scary question that the whole industry is asking. Is the golden age of programming actually over? For decades, programming has been this incredible craft, almost like a digital version of woodworking or metalworking. But is that era, is it coming to a close? To really figure out where we're going, we first have to take a look back at where we've been.
So, let's rewind the clock to what a lot of people call programming's golden era. This wasn't just about the technology of the time. It was about a whole culture, a certain philosophy of how you build things literally from the ground up.
A few major forces really came together to create this period. First, you had high-level languages like C and C++ pop up, which let developers think in bigger concepts instead of just ones and zeros. Then, you had the open source movement just explode. It was like a global workshop opened up, where anyone could share their work, learn from others, and chip in. And finally, the really powerful tools for development moved off of these giant, expensive corporate computers and onto our own PCs. That just unleashed this massive wave of creativity.
And right at the heart of all this was a figure we can call the artisan programmer. Now, this wasn't just somebody who could write code. This was a true craftsperson, someone who understood the machine on a deep level, who managed memory by hand and squeezed every last drop of performance out of the hardware. The code wasn't just about getting a job done, it was an expression of skill, of deep technical mastery.
And then, well, this happened. AI didn't just knock on the door, it basically kicked it off its hinges. The era of the artisan programmer is now facing probably its biggest challenge ever, as these intelligent tools are starting to automate the very craft that used to define the entire profession.
We're talking about tools like GitHub Copilot, which is basically an AI sitting next to you, suggesting whole chunks of code while you type. Or JetBrains AI, which is built right into the coding environment to help you rewrite and generate stuff. Some of these tools can even spin up entire applications from just a simple sentence describing what you want. The programmer isn't alone at the keyboard anymore, not by a long shot.
And this is a fundamental change to the whole process. Think about it. Traditional coding was like meticulously building a car engine piece by piece. You had to know every single part, how they fit together, and fix it when it broke. Now, we're moving towards prompt-based development. You just describe the car you want, the what, and the AI starts suggesting the engine design, the how. It's a seismic shift.
But this isn't just about process. It's about culture. The things we used to value, that really deep, low-level skill, the obsession with manual optimization, those things are being challenged. In this new AI-driven world, automation just makes a lot of that manual work, well, less necessary. The focus is shifting from pure craftsmanship to speed and getting things done fast.
This brings us to this really interesting concept called Software 2.0. The big idea here is that we're moving away from writing out explicit line-by-line instructions for computers. Instead, we're feeding them massive amounts of data and training them, teaching the software to learn behaviors all on its own. The job is becoming less about writing algorithms and more about becoming a curator of data and a trainer of models.
So the big question is, if AI is going to be writing more and more of the code, what's left for the human to do? Well, this is where the role completely transforms. The programmer isn't becoming obsolete, they're becoming something new, an orchestrator.
I think this quote just nails it. The future programmer is not a technician, but a strategic systems thinker who leverages AI to amplify their impact. See, the focus is shifting away from being the person who just types the code and more towards being a strategic thinker who uses AI as a tool, like a force multiplier, to solve much bigger, more complex problems.
But here's the thing, for all its power, AI has some pretty clear limits. It doesn't have real creativity or intuition to come up with something truly new, something it's never seen before. It has no ethical compass, no way to navigate tough questions about bias or fairness. And it definitely can't feel empathy and truly understand what a user needs, especially when the user can't quite explain it themselves. These are the areas where humans are still absolutely crucial. So this is what that orchestrator role looks like in practice. First, you're the one who guides the AI. You give it the high-level direction, the big picture. Second, you act as the expert validator. You're the one checking the AI's work, making sure it's correct, secure, and actually good code. And finally, you're the bridge, the person who connects the technical solution back to the real-world business goals.
Okay, so where does all of this leave us? How should we be looking at this moment in time? Is it the sad end of a really cool era? Or is it maybe the exciting start of something completely different?
Well, on the one hand, you can see AI as this incredible democratizing force. I mean, it's lowering the barrier to entry so much that it's going to enable way more people from all kinds of backgrounds to build software and bring their ideas to life. This could unleash a wave of innovation like we've never seen before.
But of course, with that promise come some very real worries. Is all this AI-generated code going to be reliable? Will it be maintainable in the long run? Can someone with zero background in security really use these tools to build a safe application? And maybe the biggest question, if nobody learns the fundamentals anymore, are we at risk of losing that deep expertise we'll need to solve the really hard problems down the road?
So really, it leaves us with two ways to see what's coming. We can mourn what we're losing, that art of manual optimization, the intimate knowledge of the hardware, that deep satisfaction of building something from scratch, or we can celebrate what's new, the unbelievable speed and efficiency, the fact that so many more people can now create, and this powerful new way for humans and machines to collaborate.
So what's the big takeaway here? I think the future belongs to those who adapt. First, you've got to embrace AI not as your replacement, but as your partner. Second, you have to commit to just constantly learning, because this landscape is going to keep changing fast. And finally, double down on those uniquely human skills that AI can't touch: real creativity, strategic problem solving, and a deep sense of empathy for the people you're building for.
Ultimately, whether this is the end of an era or the dawn of a brand new renaissance, it really just depends on how we look at it and the choices we make from here. The golden age of the artisan programmer might be fading into the sunset, but maybe, just maybe, the golden age of human-amplified creation is just beginning.